I think Indigenous conservation has a little bit different tone to it because human beings are part of the conservation effort. In everything that we do, even with wildlife, forestry, land management, all of those things require human relationship with those lands and those elements.
Our involvement as people is what produces abundance within natural landscapes. And so learning from that core, I think, will be really important for allies. And then also for Indigenous peoples to get even more proud of our contributions to regenerative agriculture.
There's so many things that tribal nations are doing with their food sovereignty efforts that are contributing to reclamation of future practices that are not going to damage the climate.
Everything we do here is for the future generation and for our people to sustain our people here now with healthy foods. We try to grow as much heirloom squash and tomatoes as we can. Try to keep most of the traditional foods on the crop list.
We're picking up those teachings that are given to us as original instructions as Indigenous people and carrying that forward. And those original instructions are so profound and so related to this land that when they're able to be in force and in action, they produce abundance. That's something that we have to teach and share to broader contemporary society, is remembering how to be in reciprocity with the earth and be in reciprocity with one another. Tribal nations have waited a very long time for many allies to wake up to these ideas, and it's starting to happen now.
We've worked with the Department of Agriculture here at the tribe and with Jeremy Whipple for more than 18 months in developing the AFA, the Alternative Funding Arrangement. I think we are on the cutting edge of this. We don't have very many of these agreements, and to have one of the first felt really great right here.
That relationship that Jeremy built with NRCS and that he continues to cultivate and push for has produced this amazing, it's the first of its kind in our region. The arrangement means that the tribe now has administrative authority over putting conservation practices into play.
The relationship with from the Farm Bill, the outcomes of the Farm Bill, the relationship with USDA and Michoac is second to none. The collaboration that we've had, the growth that you've seen here on this incredible property that we've been able to grow in the last 10 years from literally an empty field into multiple high tunnels, livestock, squash and raspberry patches, all was because of that partnership with USDA and particularly with the efforts from the Farm Bill.
What that does is it empowers leadership. We start to strengthen Pequot identity and it'll open up eyes for future projects to be led by Pequots capable in their area. And this gives them hope that the future generations benefit from the cultivation of togetherness, the belief in one, the ability to live out a dream. And to be able to do that as we feed the family is just unbelievable.
The ability for us to tap into our own food resources to supply our community is critically important. The more that USDA can focus on that, use us as an example and other nations as an example of success, and then continue to fund those programs is absolutely important.
I try to encourage healthy eating and keeping the cultural aspects alive in the farming world. So we have a local food assistant program through the USDA where we make up food boxes that we give out to the communities. 80% of our produce goes into those boxes and we hand them out weekly to the membership. I hope the future generations learn from what we're doing because we want them to keep passing this down and eventually it'll just become one of those things that we do, So it's not one of those lost things that we have to bring back.
In our community, we rely on is the library of our elders who have all this knowledge and they're just waiting for people to ask. We all have memories as Indigenous people of someone who loved us and cooked and prepared food and put their love into it, and that energy was picked up through us by having that meal and eating that food. The importance of these Indigenous foodways, any type of gathering, whether it be a food summit or even just a conference, the reason why it's so important is because the food is the beginning to trigger our ancestral DNA.
This summit, it is about cultivating relationships with elders and knowledge keepers and people who are willing to share that information to keep it going, which is something that at one time happened very naturally. I mean, by this time, I would be like a master gardener, I would be a master chef, I would know all my medicines, I would be fluent in my language, I would be participating in my community, and everything would be there. That was part of our ways that we lived. Our foodways are lifeways. And so by breaking apart knowledge and siphoning it into little silos, we lose that interconnectedness between the knowledge, but also between generations. And this work brings those intergenerational connections back together. It gives children a chance to learn who they are and where they belong. And when children understand their role within the community and their purpose, they know who they are, where they belong, and they don't want to leave us. I think that our foodways are a pathway to confidence building and knowing the value of oneself. And when you have something that important to carry and give to the next generation, you have a reason for being.
My message is always to young people that I see them, I see the work they're doing, I see how they're trying, I see how they're learning the language and they're getting stronger for us. And I'm so thankful for that, because now I see people wanting to grow their own food and they're really starting to rise up and say, you know what, we can do this.
I hope that folks leave this summit feeling uplifted, that they're not working alone to rebuild our Indigenous foodways, because there's so few people picking up these responsibilities. Sometimes in communities it's just one or two people, and so it can be quite isolating. So I hope that the leaders here find community and find inspiration through that community. And I hope that the allies that are here have an aha moment and realize that tribal nations are super competent, super able to design and implement our own agricultural practices, and really remember our own strength and power as Indigenous people to build these foodways back up, heal our people, heal the land, and heal our relationships between tribal nations and with other governments.